So my brethren them. So today I'm gonna be doing with Izuku was a the he was the legendary Super Saiyan. So he's not really gonna be the legendary Super Saiyan. He's gonna be the reincarnation of Cumber, so the evil Saiyan, and Broly, the legendary Super Saiyan. So basically, he's gonna be very OP, very, very, very OP. Okay, and I'm doing this. I'm doing this what if like inspired by another guy that did this like it was kind of the same what if but not really. So but I don't know for real. Give me a second. So like I said, I don't know for real, right? So sorry about that cut. But so the guy did it and it was like really good and I really liked it. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna steal this idea, but I'll give him props. But then come to find that that video wasn't even in my fucking like it wasn't in my search history. So I tried going on the search bar for the search history. I searched up what if Deku and stuff, right? And that shit, it didn't come up, bro. And I was like, what the hell? you know? Cause, cause I was like, just what the hell? Cause, cause I am sure I watched it. I watched it yesterday, and it was an amazing what if. So I would know, you know. But anyway, like I said, this is what if Izuku Midoriya was the reincarnation of Broly and Cumber. So when Izuku is born, nothing goes wrong. Everything goes exactly the same to canon, and I mean exactly the same to canon, right? So let's say it's let's say that Izuku actually met Uraraka in middle school. Yeah, and I'm pretty sure in the anime they're 15. So he met her in middle school when he was 11, right? And they've been dating for 4 years. Yeah, they've been dating for 4 years. So Izuku is going to he's it's their 4 year anniversary, and you guys know what I'm gonna do. Uraka or Gravity Ho is gonna be cheating, cause why not? Now give me a second. I need to move to another location. Location acquired. Anyway, sorry, that was cringe. But like I was saying, um, Izuku, when he's born, nothing's different. And 4 years. Damn, that's a long time to be with a girl, you know. So, because they've been together a long time, you know, and my man's, he's got a job. Like, technically, he's still a minor. Don't get me wrong, but his mom's, she has, like, let's just say his mom's she ain't, like, rich, but she's, like, she has a moderate job, you know, at, like, a restaurant. And Izuku's just had this passion for cooking since he was 7, so he's good at it. So for the past 2 years, so since he was 14, he just had a job at the restaurant cooking and shit. Nobody knows, because if they did, you know, cops. But anyway, so he works, so he gets like money and he buys this present for Uraraka, which their anniversary just happens to be on Valentine's Day. So my man's gets her, what do you call it, a big ass teddy bear, bunch of chocolates, and this like bracelet, right? And this bracelet, it's like a gold and silver bracelet that cost him like it cost him 2 grand. It cost him the $2,000, right? And I'm gonna say that he's been saving for this gift since last year, so he didn't buy himself anything, right? And this is after he's joined UA. Like, I'm gonna say this is 1 week before the USJ. So they've done the quirk examination. Everything goes to canon, like I said. So 1 week before the USJ. And Izuku goes up to Uraraka's room. And I don't know who I'm gonna make Uraraka cheat with. But I'm thinking of Tape Guy. Just because he's a background character, right? So Izuku goes up to Uraraka's room. And since, and he starts hearing moaning. And him and Uraraka haven't like clapped yet because they're still, because Uraraka, she's a thought, but she doesn't want him to know that. Because she's one of them thoughts that they they think they love you, but they still gonna cheat on you, which makes no sense, right? So they haven't clapped because she wants them to be of age and shit. So you know he hears them clapping, right? And he goes up to her room, hears moaning. He's like, well, she's probably watching something or some shit like that. Because he would never believe simply that she's doing that. He would have to see it, which he will. So he goes, knocks on um, Uraraka's door because, like I said, in this one he's gullible, wrapped around her little finger like a fucking puppy. My man's um, name not to be revealed. He went through the same shit, but I'm gonna cut this out because that's some bullshit that I just said, and I don't need you to go knowing that. But anyway, so like I was saying, so from 6. Okay, so he knocks on the door, and then he waits for Uraka to come. She opens the door, and he realizes her shirt is on like backwards and shit. So he's like, "Yo, what's going on? Like, why is your shirt backwards?" And she starts getting nervous, and she's stumbling all along and shit. And he knows what's going on, but he just doesn't want to believe it. So he's like, "Hey, yo, let me come in." And she's like, "Nah, nah, it's not a good time, blah blah." He's like, "Just let me come in." And she's like, "Izuku," I said no. And then Izuku's like, "Well, come on, what'd you have to hide?" And he just like opens the door just a little bit, and he sees tape dude putting on his pants, and he's like, and he just snaps. He just snaps. So basically, all of that anger from Cumber and Broly, they both go into him. And you know what this means. You know what this means. Rage, bro. He activates One for All because he doesn't have his Saiyan powers yet. Because One for All keeps his human genetics alive, and he needs to have weak human genetics. So because quirks are like a human evolution, right? So he's gonna lose One for All, and then that's when Cumber and Broly's rage and their aura and spirit are gonna start to take. They're gonna start to take over Izuku a little bit, and when they take over, Izuku, his DNA gonna start changing and shit. So opens the door, sees bruh. He's like, nope, not doing it today. And Uraraka's like, it's not what you think, baby. Blah blah. He's trying to appeal to him. Man's just like kind of just like slides her out the way and goes straight to my guy. Because personally, I don't believe in being angry at the person that your significant other is cheating with you, is cheating on you with. Because that person, for all you know, they didn't know shit. They didn't know that your girl had a boyfriend. And even if they did, they don't know you, bro. Like why would they have any respect for you? But this guy, he's somebody Izuku considered a friend. Like not a close friend, but still, they classmates. Like they've gone through shit together. Like the guy has seen Izuku like rise through his fears and shit. So Izuku doesn't expect this kind of betrayal. So he just snaps. He just snaps. Now this was supposed to happen when he turned 16, because when you turn 16 is like when your body starts to fully mature into a man, you know. And then Cumber and Thing, they were gonna like erase One for All, and they were gonna erase One for All from Izuku's body with their aura, and then they were gonna take over. But you know, Izuku's anger that he's feeling right now, it's way stronger than theirs. So they're like, ain't no way I'm getting near that nigga. So basically, just their key goes into him, which you'll find out in a minute why. So Izuku activates One for All, and he's not gonna go 100% because he'd kill the nigga, yeah. But he still has common sense, but he's like, I'm gonna need you to run this fade. Black Izuku. Like always, Izuku will always be black in my motherfucking what ifs. If you think otherwise, get the fuck out, nigga. Anyway, so you know, Izuku goes and he's using like what do you call it? He's tw- uh, using 15% because that's how much he can use. That's how much he can use without his bones completely breaking. Like his bones are still getting bruised and shit, right? And he's like tearing up his muscles, but at least it's not breaking his bones. Right now he's in an angered state, not the Ikari state yet, but an angered state. So he's still in this form. So he just starts beating the shit out of Tape Guy, knockoff Spider-Man, and basically um he just beats the crap out of him. And 15%, mind you, is enough to like break through walls. So it's enough to break bones. So Izuku is just beating the shit out of this guy, and then he just boom, he just like knocks. He grabs him and just uses 20% for like a little split. He uses 20% for a little split second just to get him the momentum, and then he smashes the guy. The guy's he grabs the guy in the torso and just smashes him through the wall. You know. And then the guy goes into the common area, and Izuku and everybody comes out because they heard a loud bang, and they just see Izuku walking up to the guy, and he just like Izuku just speed blitzes and start like pounding on the guy recklessly, you know. And basically, Uraraka comes up to him, tries to stop him. He just slaps her in the face, bro. He's like equal rights, equal fights, bitch. But that's the only girl. That's the only girl he'll ever hit in his life. That's the only equal rights, equal fights, bitch. He's gonna have. So he had no problem with hitting Uraraka if she tries to hit him, you know, because she tried to use her quirk on him, which he just like slapped her away while he was in zero gravity, which meant she lost her balance, her hands came apart, and he was free. And my man just kept pounding and pounding, and then Kirishima's like, bro, I think that's enough. Because Kirishima realized the situation, so did Ida and Bakugo, right? But nobody else did, right? Nobody else. Because everybody else is just watching from perspective of Izuku's just mindlessly beating this guy, right? So eventually Aizawa comes in and he like cancels Izuku's quirk, right? And Izuku just keeps beating him and beating him and beating him. And at this point, Izuku's knuckles are just swollen because them shits are broken, right? So he just keeps beating and beating and beating. His fists aren't opening ever again. Like in this state that he's in, if he keeps going, like his fists will never open again. So Aizawa is not strong enough to take Izuku because he's in a blind rage. And for that little moment that Aizawa took his quirk, like some of the aura of Broly just seeped into him, right? And he just knocked Aizawa away. And Aizawa closed his eyes. He activated One for All again, started pounding and pounding. And then they have to call All Might because All Might is the nearest hero. All Might comes quick, because he heard Izuku's gone crazy. And he just sees Izuku pounding into this guy, right? This guy at this point, he has multiple fractured ribs. Like he has like this he has a shoulder injury, and his jaw is cracked as well. So you know, All Might comes in, and he goes up to Izuku. He's like, "Young Midoriya, what are you doing?" And Izuku's like, Nah, fuck that. And he's saying this like with a distorted ass voice, and All Might's like, is this a side effect of One for All? Like, is this One for All reaching one of like a peak of power or something? And then he tries to go for Izuku, right? And Izuku like uses like 10, he uses 100% and just knocks All Might into a wall, which All Might eats that shit. But All Might takes like it's near the scar. It's near All Might's scar, which Izuku wasn't even looking. So he knocks All Might to the wall, and All Might takes it, but it still hurts him a little bit because it's near the scar. And then Izuku has a broken arm because he used 100%. He's just using his left arm just to beat and beat and beat. And then All Might goes up to Izuku and he uses a Detroit Smash and smashes Izuku, which Izuku has a couple broken ribs, right? And then they get the situation under control and they put like quick canceling handcuffs on Izuku, not because they're putting him under arrest, but because he's in a rage right now and he's knocked out, so they put the handcuffs on him. And then they start asking everybody what happened, and they go up to every student. Every student's like, we don't know, we just came out and Izuku was beating on tape guy for no reason. And Yuraka's like, no, no, why would he do that? Why would he do that? Izuku wouldn't do that, blah, blah, blah. And she's like crying and shit for some reason. And they finally go up to uh, Ida, uh, Ida, Kirishima, and Bakugo, and they're asking what happened. And basically, Bakugo and Kirishima and Ida explain, like, you know, Uraka was cheating with Tape Dude, and everybody there is like, oh, wow, damn. And everybody's like, you gonna cheat with a backup character, bro? And they're like, a background character? Bruh. um, and Momo in her head's like, I thought Bakugo was more likely to smash Uraka than Tape Guy. Damn. But, Izuku wakes up, he sees Tape Guy getting carried away to Recovery Gun. He just gets in a fit of rage. And because quirk canceled, rips out of the handcuffs with Thing. And they're like, how is this quirk not canceled? Blah, blah, blah. Those were enforced steel handcuffs. He shouldn't be able to get out of them, blah, blah, blah. And All Might's had enough at this point. So he's like, I need to talk to young Midoriya. And they're like, okay. And he's like, alone. And everybody leaves because All Might seeing this rage in Izuku, he's like, nah, can't have that shit. No, not with my successor. And Izuku, his power is gonna be able to either rise. He's gonna be able to rise to how much how much power he needs in that occasion. So he's gonna be able to train to get more power for a certain occasion. I'll explain what that means later. So basically, All like, young Izuku, if you do not stop this, I will have to ask for my quirk back. And Izuku's like, take your fucking quirk back, nigga. Because Izuku just doesn't care right now. He just doesn't care anymore. And All Might's like, what? You would disrespect me like this? And Izuku's like, yeah, bitch, fuck you. And then Izuku like rips out one strand of hair and gives it to All Might. And All Might's like, young Izuku, no, this is not the young man I met with the heroic spirit and blah blah blah. Izuku's like, yes, it is. It just happens that that young man has finally seen the atrocities of the world and seen how naive he was. And Izuku just like walks away. So for the next week, Izuku just doesn't come in, right? And while he was walking away, everybody noticed all of his green hair, like just like a wave of black starts from his crown and just takes over his whole hair. So they see his hair turn black in front of them, and then his eyes go yellow because he's like kind of flickering in and out of the Ikari form. So when he gets home, his mother's like, "What happened?" He tells her everything, and she's like, "Well, I understand why you did it, but I still don't agree with what you did." And she's like, "You're gonna have to see some anger management classes or something." And he tells her about like One for All, because at this point he just doesn't care. Like I said, she's like, "So you gave All Might back his quirk, the number one hero?" And she's like, "How the fuck?" He's like, "How the fuck are you gonna become a hero now?" And he's like, "I'll figure something out." And she's like, "You are a dumbass." or just slaps him, black mothers. But anyway, she makes him go to anger management for the next week, and for that whole week, he's just meditating. And his mom starts to notice something after the first day. The first day, because she gets him to anger management quickly, like immediately, because she doesn't need him doing that again and getting expelled. Because she doesn't want him to have a bad reputation and have to go to a normal high school because she wants him to become a hero. She wants him to fulfill his dream. So she takes him to anger management and she's like, yeah, we need to get signed up right fucking now. And they're like, okay, because not many people in this world go to fucking anger management. They have powers, my nigga. If they're angry, they just use their powers or some shit. So the psychiatrist hears everything and he's like, Izuku has a complete and utter right to be angry, but it's just that he needs to control his anger because it's acting in an explosive way. It's like it has a trigger, and it's like an explosive, and we need to fix that as to where he can channel his anger into something positive instead of something negative. And Izuku's like, so what do you suggest? And he says that in like an aggressive tone. The doctor's like, well, firstly, I suggest you put your tone down, nigga. And Izuku's like, sorry, because he still respects adults. He's in his right mind right now, but he's just a little bit aggressive, on edge. So he's like, I suggest meditation. And Inko just like through the day, she notices Izuku's just getting taller for some reason, and he's getting taller and buffer. Like he's starting to like his clothes are starting to hug him too much, and so at the end of the day, she's like, Izuku, what the hell's going on with you? And he's like, what do you mean? And she's like, I thought you said you gave All Might his quirk back. And Izuku's like, I did. And Inko's like, then why the fuck are you growing so much? And he's like, what? And she's like, look at you, bro. And she like points him at a mirror, and he's like, what the hell? When did I get so big? Because he used to be like just a little bit above Inko. He used to be like 5'8", and right now he's like 6 foot. So Inko Inko is like, there is no way you're growing this much. What the fuck is going on? And she's like, we have to go to the quirk doctor. She's like, because she's gonna be real smart in this one. She's gonna be like a scientist, and she's like a biologist, but not like a quirk scientist, just a biologist. And she's like, maybe when you got All Might's quirk, it activated your quirk, but his quirk was overshining yours. And so now that his quirk's gone, your one can like shine through it or something, which is what she's thinking, which would be a logical explanation, right? But that's not what's happening. So they go to the quirk doctor, and she's like, yeah, he's growing for some reason, and Izuku's still growing dramatically, right? And the doctor can see that. He's like, yeah, I can fucking see that. And Izuku's muscles are like bulging at this point, and out of nowhere his shirt just rips, and they see like definition on the level of Sung Jin Woo, or Arnold Schwarzenegger, and they're like, what the hell, because he was still a little bit he was lean when he came to the quirk doctor, right? He was really lean, and he was just really really lean at the point that he looked big, and his clothes were hugging him. Now he's starting to grow to the size of a bodybuilder, right? And they're like, what the hell, Will? And the doctor's like, come in, come in, come in. We have to observe this. And he's like, so your son was previously documented as quirkless. And Inko's like, yeah, he had an incident where he got really angry, and basically he says, and the doctor says, yes, yes, not that. I'm talking about how he supposedly gained a quirk superpower, which which is what Izuku's quirk is documented at in the original show, which at first it said quirkless, then it said superpower because it enhances his physical abilities. And Yinko's like, yeah, but he says he lost the ability to use that quirk. And the doctor's like, no, we've never had a case like this. So they calling everybody, right? And so um, Izuku is put into the lab, and they're observing him, and he's still growing, right? And his growing starts to slow down after a day and a half. And right now he's 6'6", right? And so he's 6'6", and what do you call it? The doctors are astonished because they're like, so you can't use that power whatsoever. And he's like, no, I can't. And they're like, okay, try to punch this like wall right here. And he punches it, and the whole wall just comes down. And they're like, you're sure you're not using your quirk superpower? And he's like, yes, I can't use it anymore. Like, it's literally left me for some reason. And he's saying for some reason because he wants to act like he doesn't know, even though he knows he gave it back to All Might. And some of you may say, "Oh my God, how? What about the embers of One for All?" And nah, nah, Broly, Cumber, burn that shit away. Anyway, so on the second day, they realize they notice increase in physical strength. No increase in speed though, but a large increase in physical strength. He's able to punch through walls and shit. Second day, huge boost in speed. You know, giant boost in speed. And um, third day, yeah, I think it is. Yeah, the fourth day, they notice some sort of energy starts to spark around him whenever he gets like angry or something. The fourth day, that energy becomes constant flowing around him because his emotions are all out of whack right now. And fifth day, he the energy starts to materialize into little tiny balls, which when he throws them, make huge explosions. So at this point, they're saying that his quirk is like a body augmentation and a energy manipulation, which is gonna change soon. So by the sixth day, he's able to fly with his energy manipulation, and they're like, now he has a flying quirk too. One of the doctors points out, no, maybe he's using his energy that he has to lift himself up. And Izuku's like, yeah, that's what it feels like. And so by the seventh day, he stops growing, and he's explored all the possibilities with his energy. And it turns out he can fly. He can create these tiny orbs, these um, ball-sized orbs that are like a basketball. That if he throws it, uh, and on impact it creates an explosion, or he can focus the energy into a ball and then shoot it out as a beam, like the Kamehameha. But in his case, it's the eraser cannon. So one day on the seventh day, he opens his mouth, and he's about to scream. Like they're trying to make him angry, right? So one of the doctors, brings up, you got cheated on by a fucking background character, because they're listening to Deku's story while they're testing it out. Because I'm just gonna say these guys are kind of douche. One of them is kind of a douchebag, and they're like, you got cheated on. Your girl cheated on you with a background character, and Izuku just opens his mouth and he's about to scream, and basically a mouth beam comes out of his mouth. And the doctors, they praise the guy, and they're like, very well, getting him angry. This guy didn't mean to do that, but he just takes the praise anyway because he's a douchebag. So like I said, by the seventh day, he's 7 foot, and he's 7 foot and strong as hell. Give me a second, I'm gonna cut. So this is what he's looking like, kind of. So he's looking like a mix of Broly and Cumber, right? Which Cumber has long ass hair, which I like, but not on Izuku. So Izuku's gonna have like, imagine both Cumber and Broly's hair mixed. So it's gonna go down like to his back. But and the doctors also notice they're doing DNA tests just in case, and they know. And since the first day, they realize his DNA has just been changing dramatically. And by the seventh day, they tell him, well, you're not even human anymore. And he's like, what? And his mother's like, what? What's happening to him then? And the doctors are like, well, we believe that at some point, because let's say, um, in this world they know aliens exists. They hear, they've seen a they have videos and proof and stuff of aliens existing. They just don't have many aliens visiting Earth because aliens are weary of Earth right now because they realize the humans are going through a, a pivotal point in evolution, and they're just trying to wait it out until they can completely control their powers, and that's what what they tell their governments. So the government doesn't really care about the aliens anymore, but they're like, so at some point uh, in a far back time, so they're like, so like at the age of samurais or something, because this is their theory. They're like, our theory is that a very long time ago, like 1,000, no, sorry, no. They're like, so our theory is 1,000 years ago. Yeah, 1,000 years, because 1,000 years ago would have been hmm, 1,000 years ago for them would have been 19. Wait, no. It would have been 1800s. So no, fuck that. Actually, they say 300 years ago. There you go. Thank you very much. Appreciate it much. Anyway, so it would have been 1800s. They're like, we believe in the 1800s an alien may have copulated with one of the. They're like, a humanoid alien may have copulated with one of your ancestors, and now the gene of your ancestors have awakened, and he is becoming a kind of extraterrestrial life form or something. And they're like, um, but and since he's a Japanese citizen, that still makes him a human. And they're like, he was born a human, so he's still gonna be considered a human. Just know he may have be developing features like pointed ears or some shit like that, right? Which when they say that, like 10 minutes later, Izuku starts screaming, or like he starts like wincing in pain, and they're like, okay, what's happening? What's happening? Because they think it's the feature starting to kick in, which is alright. So he's like, my back, it hurts. And they're like, where in your back? And he's like, my tailbone. And basically they put down his pants just a little bit so they can see the tailbone. And they see that there it's like morphing or something. And he goes like, what the fuck is happening? Because he's like, aliens, nigga, ancestors. And then they just see the thing morph into like, and then some hair covers a specific area, and then a tail just shoots out of his back, like out of nowhere, and just starts waving around. They're like, well, I guess that's the defining quality of your alien ancestors. Which some of you may not like how I'm doing this, but it's just a theory. It's not real. No alien, no thing, no Saiyans have ever come near Earth. These are aliens like the non-threatening aliens that have no superpowers whatsoever. So they can't control ki, and ki is just blocked off to humans. And let's say that these aliens they've come in contact with are blocked off from ki as well. They're just technologically advanced. Ki doesn't Ki in general just is blocked off to all life forms in this universe except for Deku. So except for him and his children, that is, because he's become a full Saiyan. So they're like, well, he that's the defining feature of his thing, of his race, which Inko's like, his race. And they're like, yeah, I guess he's a new type of alien. We can't study him because he's still a Japanese citizen, but we would love if he would allow us to take some samples of his DNA for scientific research. And Inko looks at Izuku and he's like, yeah, sure. And he's like, just don't make me like some kind of guinea pig or some shit. And they're like, of course not. You have your freedom, you know. And so they note that his quirk is energy manipulation, along with some body modifications which came along from his quirk awakening. They're just gonna say that. So Inko, she like cuts a hole in all of his trousers so his tail can go out. So, by the end, my man's looks like this. He's buff. So he's 7 foot. Imagine this nigga. He's 7 foot and looks exactly like that, but not really. He looks like a bit like Broly and a bit like Cumber. So he's not super bulky like Broly. He's like bulky lean like Cumber. Cumber I think is kind of lean but very bulky at the same time, and Broly is just full bulk. He's just like a bodybuilder, like a common day bodybuilder, steroids looking ass nigga. So in this one, Izuku's not gonna be able to transform into a Super Saiyan or anything, cause because I said so, bitch ass nigga. So he's not gonna be able to transform into a Super Saiyan. He's just gonna have to raise his ki and power level. He's just gonna have the Ikari state and the cursed energy state, which I'm gonna call Cumber's energy. So the Ikari state gives him a 5 times power boost, and the cursed energy state gives him a 10 times power boost. That's all I'm gonna say. So they go home, and Inko's like, okay, so tomorrow is the you have a field trip in school, and he's like, so you're just gonna send me back to school like nothing happened? And she's like, yeah, nigga, like it's not like you can just freeload off my house. You have to. He's like, she's like, you have 2 jobs, your actual job and school, and you've been absent from both, so you need to go. And he's like, yeah, sure, sure. So he goes back to his job, and he goes into the thing, and he's about to go into the back room, which the way one of the waiters comes on, and he's like, yeah, you can't go there, bro. And Izuku's like, of course I can go in there. I work here. And the waiter's like, nah, bro, I know everybody that works here, and you don't look like anybody that works here. And he's like, bro, it's me, Izuku. So, like I was saying before, the waiter's like, and he's like, bro, you don't remember me? And the waiter's like, no, I'm pretty sure I would remember you, because he looks intimidating as fuck. And imagine, and this is kind of gonna be his hero costume, but his his trousers aren't gonna be like ripped or anything, and neither is his is his sleeves. It's just gonna be like a sleeveless shirt, the long trousers, and just these big ass Timberland boots. That's gonna be his hero costume. Not the mask though. The mask. I was gonna say the mask is like to cover his mouth because they think the mouth beams are constant, but yeah, he'd be able to control them pretty quickly. So he only had to wear the mask for like a day. Because he realized, just don't focus my energy in my mouth. The fuck? So I can't even shout as loud anymore. That is annoying. So, you know, the guy's like, I'm pretty sure I would recognize somebody like you. And Izuku's like, what the fuck is that supposed to mean, bitch? Cause, Cause he thinks it's like a racial comment, right? And the guy's like, oh no, no, I don't mean it like that. I mean you're intimidating as fuck, bro. And Izuku's like, oh, okay. He's like, bro, I'm Izuku Midoriya. And the guy's like, no way. Cause it's a society of quirks, so he expects anything, but he's like, no way. And Izuku's like, yeah, bro, it's me. He's like, alright, what's my favorite he's like, what's my favorite food? And Izuku's like, bro, it's chicken katsu curry. You steal that shit from out the back. And the guy's like, bro, man, like, we thought he's like, I thought you were hurt, bro. I was worried about you. He's like, what the hell happened to you, though? And Izuku's like, well, you know that quirk superpower that I thought I had? And the guy's like, yeah. And Izuku's like, well, somehow I lost it. And the guy's like, what? So how does you losing your quirk lead to you looking like this? And Izuku's like, well, turns out one of the that quirk was foreign somehow, so it didn't even belong to me. It was just like a temporary thing. And he's like, so it was like a beginning stage to your actual quirk. And Izuku's like, yeah, exactly like that. He's like, so it turns out that that power was just blocking out this one that I have now, and this one was actually from one of my ancestors that had the same thing. And he's like, oh shit. And he's like, so what can you do with this quirk? And they're just chatting it up, which like the employees were hearing all of this because they're like, sorry, I had to check something. So, like I was saying, the employees were hearing because flashback to like um 2 minutes ago, the employees see a big ass dude like come in the store, and he looks like very intimidating. So none of them want to speak to him. But then he's going for the back room, so they're like, can't have that. They're like, he might be intimidating, but we're still fucking employees. So they just send the guy that Izuku's talking to, but he's a background character, so I'm not even gonna give him a fucking name. They send that guy, and that guy's like, why me? And they're like, well, because you're the strongest. Let's say he has some sort of he has a artist type quirk, which his paintings, whatever he paints, can come to life, and he always has like a spare paper on him. And he's like, yeah, but it's that quirk's not meant to be used for fighting. It's meant to be used for art. And they're like, whatever, nigga, it can still be used for fighting. So he goes up to Izuku. Fucking hell, sorry about that, guys. Little sister. So and now we skip back to here. The employees hearing all of this are like, what the fuck? That's Izuku? And manager comes out, and he's like, who the fuck is that guy that random background character is talking to? And they're like, bro, that's Izuku. And he's like, no way. And the manager is gonna be a black guy too. That's why he let Izuku have the job, because he's like, I know how he's like, I know a black family struggles. And Inko's not gonna be the manager of a store. She's gonna be the manager of a a whole department, right? You could say. So it's like a whole city's worth of restaurants, which the restaurant chain is like all around the world. So in this city there's only like three. It's a giant city, by the way. It's Tokyo. So there's only three restaurants though. So she is a manager of three restaurants, and she has like sub managers, and this guy's one of them. And he's like, no fucking way, right? And he's a black guy too. He's gonna be like Samuel L. Jackson just because I wanted to. He's like, no motherfucking way. And they're like, yeah. It turns out that his quirk actually awakened. He's like, what the fuck you mean his quirk awakened? This nigga been eating grits or some shit. And he's like, nah, bro. But it doesn't matter. He still got to get his ass back to work. And he goes up to Izuku, which this guy's like, he's like 6'8", so he's tall as fuck too. But Izuku's looking down on him, and the guy's like, I don't know how I feel about this kid. You're looking down on me. He's like, it used to be the other way around. Just he's like, just a week ago it was the other fucking way around. It doesn't matter anyway. Get to work. And Izuku's like, yeah, yes, boss, because he treats the people close to him with kindness. But anybody that's like anybody that's rude to him, you can expect like him to be rude as fuck to you as well, because he's a Saiyan, and he's a pure Saiyan, so he hasn't bumped his head like Goku, so aggressive as fuck. Anyway, so um the boss is like, what the fuck? He's like, bro, I felt my heart jumped out of my chest when I shouted at that nigga. I expect him to punch me or some shit, because he's just scared of Izuku now. But anyway, he sees Izuku get into his uniform, which his uniform is half popping off his fucking body. And Izuku tears off the sleeves, and he's like, why the fuck would you do that? That's my That's the uniform I gave to you. And Izuku's like, them shits was tight. And he's like, whatever. Like, that shit is coming out of your fucking paycheck. He's like, that the repair. Sorry, he says that to make a custom uniform costs a lot, so that shit's coming out of your paycheck. And Izuku's like, yeah, that's cool. Cause he's like, whatever. I have some money left, cause he he still has the bracelet, right? Which he got the bracelet before he left UA, and he's planning on just selling the bracelet, or like giving it back, because it hasn't been 30 days yet. So he's just gonna return the bracelet and get a fucking refund. So he does his first day back at work, and he broke like 2 plates. So the boss is like, that shit's coming out of your paycheck too. And Izuku's like, bro, but it's my quirk, man. Like, I can't control this shit. And the boss is like, and I can't control that you are breaking shit either. And Izuku's like, what? And he's like, exactly. And just goes back into his office. And Izuku goes out, and by this time, everybody's figured out he's the exact fucking same Izuku. So that shy little kid, not as shy though, he's a bit more straightforward, but he's still that innocent little kid, that innocent kid that they love. So they're like, so his physical abilities changed, but his mental is still the same. So the next day is the first day back in UA, which is the sports festival. So the no, not the sports festival. Sorry, I was saying the USJ. So let's do USJ. So he goes to school, right? Which he arrives in class, which he has to get the registration done. So he gets in class, he opens the door, and everybody's staring at him because they see a giant ass dude just pop into class. And I was like, what the fuck? And he's just waiting to see what happens, right? And he sees his, because if there was anything like suspicious about him, the watchdog person would have gone after him and started barking or some shit. But Izuku still has the same scent. There's just a little bit off about him, but not really. So the dog just lets him through, because he's like, I'm Izuku Midoriya, and the guy's like, checks out. So he goes to the back of the room and sits, and as I was like, excuse me, sir, who the fuck is you? And Izuku's like, what do you mean, who the fuck am I? I'm your fucking student, nigga. He's like, why is everybody acting like they don't fucking know me? And I'm gonna say that before, most girls in the class liked him, but they thought they liked him like as a crush, right? And they still do, but it's like before they liked him more as like an innocent guy that was sweet and stuff, and now he's more like a manly guy, but he's still sweet to most people. Anyway, sorry, it was some stuff about school. So Izuku says, what the fuck do you mean? He's like, bro, I'm Izuku Midoriya. And Aizawa doesn't believe this. He's like, nah, bro, you can't be Izuku Midoriya. Because in this one, Aizawa's gonna know about All Might and One for All. And he's like, okay, so All Might took away the quirk, which he's highly disappointed in All Might. He's disappointed in All Might right now because Izuku had one mistake, and he takes away the quirk. Because Izuku's been a perfect successor this whole time, learning to control the powers. Like, and All Might even says to Aizawa, like, Izuku was able to use 15%, which before he was only able to use like 5 without his body breaking. Which in this one, All Might, it's not exactly to canon because All Might and Izuku visit Gran Torino like just before he enters UA, and Gran Torino explains properly. So, like I was saying, and as I was like, nah, you can't be Izuku. Like, he lost his quirk, and he says this out loud, bitch, he forgot. And everybody's like, what? He lost his quirk? They're like, so that's not Izuku, that's an imposter, and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, no. My quirk faded and gave birth to a new one, a much more powerful one that was being held back by the old weak one. And Aizawa hears Izuku call All Might's power weak, and he's like, God damn, nigga, shit. And I'm gonna say the successor of One for All is Mirio, just because I want to, nigga. Like the fuck. So I was like, damn, he just called All Might weak. How strong is this nigga then? And Izuku's like, anyway, I have a energy manipulation quirk, and they're like, so why the fuck do you have a tail? And Izuku's like, well, the energy manipulation just got. He's like, well, it's a quirk of one of my ancestors from the first generation. He's like, the doctors actually had to fight really hard to find that shit, which he's which is what the doctors put in his file because they're kind of friendly and they don't want Izuku getting discriminated against because he's technically an alien now. So they say that it's an ancestor from the first generation of quirks, and since they weren't all registered, they say that it was an off-register quirk. So he's like, it was one of the it was one of the people that was only registered to a hospital and not the actual government. And they're like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And they're like, so what does this quirk do? And he's like, I have this tail, which is kind of useless, and and I have something else, which none of you fucking need to know. And they're like, what? And they're like kind of confused because Izuku's like, it's out of his character to swear or anything. And as I was like, well, sit down, problem child, because he was distrustful at first, but he's like, meh, like the other teachers like wouldn't let a random walk around, because the watchdog guy wouldn't let a random just walk around your way. So and Izuku did talk to Nezu. Um, he did talk to Nezu before going into class. So Aizawa, just in case though, Aizawa has this. Yes. So like I was saying, Aizawa has his quirk activated and looking at Izuku for the whole time, just because like even though he does trust that it might be Izuku, there's still a odd little possibility that it might be a villain impersonating. Um, Actually, there's a high possibility that it might be a villain. You know, so he's just like, okay, Izuku had a quirk change, and he secretly calls Nezu when he turns around, right? And he's like, Nezu, can you come down? I think there's a villain infiltrating UA, blah, blah, blah. He's like, call the fucking teachers, nigga. And you're asking yourselves, why does the class believe in this shit? And it's because Izuku, he displayed extreme levels of power that he had never displayed before in that incident, which they call it the incident. In the incident, he displayed extreme levels of power he hadn't displayed before, being able to push back All Might. So they're like, yeah, it could be possible, but they're still kind of edgy around it, like Aizawa, but they're playing along with Aizawa because they were trained for this situation. And Izuku notices this, and he's like, I'll just wait it out. And so Aizawa arrives, and he brings All Might and King Vlad, or whatever the fuck the guy with the blood quirk thing. Yeah, he brings All Might and him, and it's a Vlad King, I think. So he brings All Might and Vlad King, and All Might hasn't been announced that Izuku had a quirk awakening. So, you know, he gets to the class, he sees this bulky ass nigga in the back, which All Might is like, I'm gonna say he's 8'7", so he still towers above Izuku, right? He's still like a foot and 7 inches above Izuku, so he can barely get through. So that's why the door was made. The door is so big because of All Might. So Nezu goes and All Might sees the guy and he's like, "Who are you?" And Nezu's like, "Oh, calm down, calm down, calm down." And he's like, that All Might is Izuku Midoriya." And All Might and Nezu, he was about to call All Might. Flashback. Nezu sees a big ass nigga going towards UA, or going towards 1A, and he asks the guy, "Who are you?" Because he still trusts in his ability to protect his school. school, and the villain attacks haven't begun yet. They think the break-in was just an accident. But anyway, so he asks, "Who are you?" And Izuku's like, "I'm Izuku Midoriya." And Nezu's like, "Oh," and he's like, "You don't look like Izuku Midoriya." And Izuku's like, "Yes, I knew that something like this would happen. Don't worry, I have medical records." And Nezu's like, "Oh, I would like to see those." And he's spectacle as fuck. Like, he has a button that can call All Might on his phone just in case, and it's like an emergency thing that all teachers have, I'm gonna say, in this one. And that's what Aizawa used as well. So he's about to press it, but then Uzuku's like, "Well, it turns out that I had a quirk awakening." And I was like, "Oh shit." And he's like, "Yeah, that's what the incident was about," which nobody in UA has leaked the incident because only Class 1A, Nezu, All Might, and Aizawa know. So nobody's leaked the incident. And he's like, "Well, okay then." And he's like, "Show me those medical records then." And in the medical records, it says he had a quirk awakening, which his quirk, Nezu knows about All Might's quirk as well. So he's like, which, and paper says his quirk awakened a ancient quirk from the first generation that was dormant in Izuku's father's bloodline, and it only awakened with Izuku, and Izuku only possibly will be transferred to kids, maybe not, considering that it took like 200 years. Because I'm pretty sure the quirks were around for 200 years, and they're like, maybe not, considering it took 200 years to activate once. But Nezu reading all this, he's like, "Well, um, you you seem like a new person, so and I'm glad that you're not as angry as you were when you left." And Izuku's like, "Yeah, I've been doing a lot of meditation lately, which is what the doctors say is what activates his key balance, and he's been doing it every single day. So for a whole week, he's just been meditating like fucking crazy and going to anger management every day. So he's getting better, right?" So end of flashback. Nezu says that's Izuku Midoriya, and everybody's like, "What, really?" And as I was like, ugh. And like a sweat drops from his face, and he's like, "Fucking hell!" I thought we were gonna have to fight. I can't be bothered for this shit today, right? And so, All Might's like, "No, that can't be young Izuku." He's like, "His quirk is gone," and everybody looks at All Might weird, and Izuku's like, "Yeah, my quirk is gone, and I awakened a new one. So fuck you, All Might." And he looks at All Might while saying this, and All Might's like, and he's in his head, he's like, "All for one, blah blah," you know. And Izuku and All Might pulls Izuku to the side, and he's like, You are working with All for One, aren't you?" And Izuku's like, "No, you fucking nigger." He's like, "No, you fucking bitch." My family line had a dormant quirk in them this whole time, and I filled out the criteria to awaken it. And All Might's like, "And what the fuck was that criteria?" Because he's being aggressive, right? And Izuku's like, "Well, that fucking criteria." And he says this and shouting like so loud that everybody can hear, and his mouth starts to shout. It starts to shine green a little bit, and then he calms down. He's like, "The fucking criteria is that I had to have a pulse, like not a pulse, but um." What do you call it? What do you call it? What do you call it? I had to have a. It's like a electric shock, but but it's like I needed something to trigger it, and basically me losing One for All was that trigger, and that is why I have this quirk. And All Might's like, well, I'm gonna need to see those records. And Izuku's like, "You can see the fucking records, bitch. Fuck you." Which All Might still think is gonna think that Izuku is working with All for One, no matter what Izuku says. But Nezu shows him the papers, and All Might's like, "I still don't trust him," to Nezu. And Nezu's like, "Well, it does not matter if you trust him or not. We'll just have to observe him and see what he does, you know? And All Might's like, whatever. And he's a bit distrustful of Izuku right now. And he's not liking Izuku's new attitude because he used to like that obedient guy that Izuku was because it was easy to control him and get him to do whatever the fuck he wanted, which Mirio is like that too. So, Aizawa announces USJ. They take roll call. Class 1B sees Izuku. They're like, oh shit, that's Izuku. What the fuck? And Monoma goes up and he's like, oh my god, you have a villain in your class. Look at him. He looks like such a villain. He's so intimidating. Blah, 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 blah. And Izuku's like, shut the fuck up. And he just like slaps Monoma into the bus with the it's like for him it's like the lightest tap he could ever do. So to him it's like a feather tap, you know, like when he like brushes against Monoma, and Monoma just gets flinged to the bus, and that's how he has to touch everything, feather taps, or else he fucking blows things, or else things get crushed and things get destroyed. And so they get on the bus, and as soon as Izuku steps on the bus, it like leans to the way that Izuku is sitting. And then All Might gets on the bus, and and it like levels out. And Izuku and All Might stare at each other for like a minute straight, and then they look away. And they're talking about their quirks, blah blah. Which All Might in this one, he he ingested the hair of One for All just in case, because he was like, well, if it gathers energy along the way, that means it gathered energy with young Midoriya, and at least I can get something positive from losing a fucking successor. And he eats the hair, he gets that energy, which means his time limit is at 3 hours a day instead of one now, and that's why he could come to the USJ with them. So Mirio has a lot of power right now. Like his shit would be enhanced to a whole new level, you know? And he's the 11th successor, so. Anyway, so they're like, blah, blah, Izuku, how does your quirk work? And Frappy's like, from what I've seen, he has a increase in physical capabilities, and he has that tail, which he says is useless, blah, blah, blah. And Izuku's like, yeah. He's like, and I have something extra, but you don't need to know that. And, and, and all of the everybody else on the bus is like, well, damn, nigga, you don't have to make it so obvious you don't like us. And he's like, it's not that I don't like you, it's just you're a bit annoying right now. I'm trying to sleep. And they're like, well, shit. And they're like, did you get any sleep? And basically, it's like Momo and Asui and Froppy talking to him at this time, and they're like, well, did you get any sleep last night? And he's like, no, not fucking really, okay? I was out late working, something you niggas don't know about. Because I'm gonna say, because Momo's rich, and Asui and thing, who'd you call it? And Asui and Froppy come from pretty decent families. But Izuku, he just had to work for everything he wanted. Ever since a very young age. His mom, like I said, she's pretty well off as well, just like Asui and Froppy, but she wants her son to work for everything he has. So he's just been working his whole life, and they're like, okay, nigga, damn. They're like, cranky much? And he goes to sleep, right? And then he arrives at the USJ, and he wakes up. And while they're at the USJ, All Might keeps looking at Izuku weird. And still, everything happens. Kirishima talks about thing. What do you call it? Kirishima talks. He says the thing about the villains. Same thing happens. People get portaled away. Everything happens the same, except this time, since All For One had his plan in motion, but then he noticed All Might looks a little bit buffer, and his time limit has gone up, and he's like, we need to make the Nomu stronger. So he gives him extra regeneration quirks, like 3 different regeneration quirks that that amounts to basic immortality, right? It's near immortality. So basically, as long as um as long as there's like still a little bit of flesh or like one cell left, the Nomu can regenerate. And he gives him super strength on the level of All Might and the super speed of All Might as well, just like normal, and shock absorption. So All Might is gonna find it extremely difficult to defeat this Nomu because his shock absorption is tripled because his regeneration is tripled. So All Might gets teleported in front of the Nomu, and the Nomu starts attacking immediately, which then they know All Might's weak spot, so the Nomu's continuously giving All Might liver shots and liver shots. And Izuku gets pulled to the same place, and he does the little Detroit smash, which he doesn't call it a Detroit smash, he just punches. And the plan with Sue still goes the same, but Izuku, he wasn't thinking straight, you know, because he saw Tape Guy trying to talk to Uraraka just before they got warped. So he was a bit angry and he wasn't thinking straight. So he was like, so after that, because he hasn't had these powers for long, you have to understand, he's only had them for a week. Sorry. Shit. You have to understand, he's only had these powers for a week. So, basically, they get on the boat and Sue is like, okay, what are we gonna do now? Like, we've done the plan, what now? And Izuku's like, my bad. And they're like, what do you mean? He's like, I forgot I can fly. And Sue's like, so this the part of your quirk that you didn't want to tell us? And he's like, yeah, I have energy manipulation. And she's like, well, that would be fucking useful to know next time, nigga. And he's like, okay, damn, you don't have to be like so mean about it. Which the ship is Froppy. Yeah, fuck all you haters. The ship is Froppy, nigga. If I had a bitch like Froppy, nigga, did you realize the top she could give? That big ass tongue. Imagine that shit, nigga. Like, bro, big ass tongue. Um, she doesn't like to get cold. She likes to be warm, snuggling. You know what I'm saying? She has frog legs, thick thighs, nigga. Bro. Plus, she's a hero. That means she's a fit girl. She's not like gonna let herself go or anything, bro. Froppy is my waifu from MHA. In MHA, my top waifus are Froppy, um, Mina, and Momo, bitch. Only 3 ships I'll be doing in my motherfucking channel. Fuck you. So the ship is Froppy. And Froppy's gonna be the only one that Izuku's nice to. Fuck Uraraka. Uraraka ain't even that cute. Round face ass bitch. Bakugo had it right. So Izuku, so she's like, well, fly us, bruh. Like, up and away. And he's like, bro, I am not a fucking plane. Like, give it a rest. And so he picks them up, and then Froppy sees this weird, it's at first she sees a like kind of, it looks like an ominous red and black aura cover him, because he's kind of angry right now because he's still thinking about Thing, because he doesn't like Froppy like that at the moment. So he's still thinking about Uraraka and Tape Guy talking. And so the aura is like that, and then Froppy speaks to him, and his aura just changes into the green that you see on the screen, you know? And he looks exactly like this. And he's frowning because he's like, what the fuck? He's like, how is she able to change my aura? He's like, I'll have to figure that out later. And he flies him, right? And uh he flies straight to safety because he wants them to be safe and not get in his way. So he sees Aizawa bodying villains and everybody else struggling. And then he sees All Might. And he's like, All Might's struggling the most. That creature must be um that creature must be strong as hell, because he knows it's a creature, because his energy signature is just off the charts with like I'm gonna say 10 other people's energy signatures. It's like 10 different people in one body, and it's not giving off a vibe of life, you know. So he's like, I can kill that shit, you know, because he's not gonna have a problem with killing because he's a Saiyan, pure Saiyan, nigga. So he goes up to All Might and he's like, All Might, he's like, do you need my help, bitch, nigga? And All Might's like, why would I ever need your help? It's not like you can do anything. You don't even have one for all anymore. Blah blah blah. Your puny power could not compare to the power of one for all. Blah 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 blah. Blah. And Shigaraki, he just hears one for all, and he's like, okay, that must be the successor. And he's like, and Shigaraki goes up to Izuku, which he has four fingers around Izuku's throat, which Izuku's about to move, and then Shigaraki says, if you move, I will kill you. And then is Izuku's like, how would you do that? And the guy's like, well, um, well, if I put this fifth finger down, you will disintegrate. And Izuku's like, oh word. And he puts like a little defensive barrier around him, but it's like skin tight. So Shigaraki doesn't even notice it. Because it just looks like a part of his aura. So All Might's like, no, don't kill the kid. Because even though he thinks Izuku's kind of, because he thought Izuku was working with All for One, but since the villains are willing to kill him, he's like, nah, that can't be accurate. And he's like, no, let go of the kid. He still doesn't like Izuku, but he doesn't like the new Izuku, but he's like, it's still a student. And so, you know, he's like, don't kill the kid. What do you want? And Shigaraki's like, what I want is for your student, no, your successor to die right in front of your eyes. And All Might's like, okay, he thinks that's my successor, which technically he is, but not really, not anymore. And Izuku's like, I'm not this nigga's successor. And Shigaraki's like, don't try to lie to me, boy. And Izuku's like, bro, you know what? I was just giving you the benefit of the doubt. And Shigaraki's like, what? And he's like, you need some fucking chapstick, nigga, and your breath stinks. And Shigaraki's like, okay, that's it. I'm gonna kill you right in front of your master. And Izuku's like, don't call this nigga. He's like, master? Oh, hell the fuck no. Huh? He's like, master? Hell the fuck no. He's like, bro, I know you didn't just call this nigga my master, you know, because he's black. So that shit's offensive as fuck. White people, stop it. So he's like, I know you didn't just call this nigga my master. And he gets angry as fuck. And Shigaraki's like, whatever, I'm gonna kill you now. He puts the fifth finger down, and nothing is happening. Which he's like, why isn't anything happening? And Izuku's like, because I put a barrier around myself, you dumb fuck. And then he like punches Shigaraki, and he doesn't do it. He doesn't do it strong because he knows his power. He knows he can kill somebody. He could like kill somebody if he like puts all his power into it. So he only puts 50%, which is 50% of One for All. Because, right, because like I said, his powers are new to him. And yes, he's the reincarnation of Cumber and Broly, but, bro, like a week ago, he was just a fucking human, you know? And so, the limit of his power is gonna start increasing when he turns 16 of age, you know? Like I said. But right now, his 100% smash is like, his 100% punch would be like, it would be like 1000% of All Might, you know. So he uses 100% smash, and basically, you know, Shigaraki, boom. Shigaraki does the boom boom, and he goes flying, and Kurogiri catches him, and he's like, nope, we can't take that nigga. He's like, force fields and super strength, nope, can't do that. Can't do it. And basically, um, he goes to warp away, you know. But Izuku he fires off a beam. He fires off a ki blast just in time, and when they get to the bar, Izuku blows a hole, a big ass hole through the wall where they were facing. But all the other villains are still there, and so is the Nomu. And the Kurogiri and Shigaraki are spectating through the monitor that they have in one of the other villains. So they're spectating, and they see Izuku go up to the Nomu, which they think he's gonna lose because he's nothing compared to All Might's what they think. All Might's trying his best, and the Nomu he like he gets one of his fingers and just shoves it into All Might's wound, and All Might screams out in pain, and nobody hears this except for Izuku, and he's like, "Bro, you're getting a little bit rusty." And All Might's like, "This is no time for jokes, young Midoriya. This thing is seriously strong. Like, you need to run." And Izuku's like, "Nah, bro, don't worry about it." And he starts going, and he's walking calmly like Saitama, and All Might just sees this symbol of not not peace, not terror, and not justice, but power. He just sees power exploding from Izuku, which is his aura. His aura is green as fuck right now. It's not black like Cumber's. That's only when he gets angry. It's like green as hell because he's calm and cocky right now. So he just sees power exploding from Izuku, and he's like, "What is that?" And Izuku's like I said, I have energy manipulation, and I can use that energy to make myself stronger, create plasma blasts, or create a yeah. Like me was saying, sorry for the scream there. I had to answer my mother. So um, uh, he explains his whole power to All Might, and this whole time he's exchanging blows with the Nomu, and he's doing it casually while still talking. And All Might's like, "What is this power?" And Izuku's like, "This is my inheritance from my ancestors." And then Izuku says, "Well," and he asks All Might, "Can I kill this thing?" And All Might's like, "What are you talking about? No, we can't kill people. We are heroes." And he's like, "But this thing is not a person." And All Might's like, "What do you mean?" And Izuku's like, "Everybody has a specific energy signature. You have one, which is very pure and heroic. Bakugo has one, which is very explosive and dangerous. And Aizawa has one, which is very calm and collected. However, this thing has 10 different energy signatures, and it doesn't give off life energy. It gives off death energy, which means it's a creature made by humanity." And All Might's like, "What?" He's like, "Yes, somebody experimented on people, made them into one, and this thing is the amalgamation of those 10 people, so it's not even alive anymore." And All Might's like, "Well, you still can't kill it." And Izuku's like, "Well, if I don't kill it, do you see the regeneration on this thing? I'll have to fight it for so long until I can put the handcuffs on." And All Might's like, just because he's starting to trust Izuku because of the power he has, and he's like, he has this much power. He's like, if he has this much power where he can do what I do and do it with such ease, and he's not like trying to kill me or anything, or he's not like trying to take over UA. Like, from what he's seen, Deku, from what he's seen so far, Deku's just an angry teenager that's just trying to become a hero. And he's starting to see the old Deku again because Deku's letting himself be more himself around All Might because he's like, "I'm the one who gave him back the quirk. I shouldn't blame him." So All Might's like, "Sure, young Midoriya," but he's like, "Young Midoriya, um, only do that if it comes to that situation. For now, just keep doing that just keep fighting it until the police come and we can put raising handcuffs on him." And Izuku's like, "Sure, sure, sure." And so he keeps fighting the Nomu police arrives, and they see that Aizawa dealt with all the low-class villains, and there's just this random big-ass nigga fighting another big-ass nigga that has his brain exposed. And they go up to All Might and they're like, so who is on our side? And All Might like, the one with the black hair. He is a UA student. And they're like, a fucking student, nigga? And he's like, yes, but put the handcuffs on the thing already. He is that thing, whatever it is. And they're like, what do you mean whatever it is? And he's like, well, the kid says that his energy is death and that it's not a human. So whatever that thing is, put some handcuffs on him and make sure it can't escape because it's dangerous. And so Izuku restrains it in like a full Nelson, and the guys try putting the handcuff on him, but then when they put the handcuffs on it, let's say that All For One gave him an extra quirk that erases, that cancels out the handcuffs. So he breaks out of the handcuffs and he's about to attack a police officer, and Izuku says, "Eraser cannon!" And basically just a giant blast comes out of his mouth, and basically the whole bird is just vaporized. And the man-made mountains, all of the landscapes behind the Nomu are just vaporized. And All Might's like, what the hell was that? He's like, didn't I tell you not to kill it unless it came to the situation? And he was like, well, I couldn't reach there in time, and the guy was about to get, he was about to die. And All Might's like, he's like, I guess you're right, but just, he's like, yes, but we could have found another way. And Izuku's like, no, I'm not allowed, I wouldn't let an innocent person die on my watch. And All Might's like, now that's the Izuku I know. And in his mind, he's like, I'm so thankful to have you back. But he's not like, I want to give him back my quirk, because he's like, Mirio, he's like, Izuku's already powerful enough, and Mirio is just like, Mirio is my successor now. And he's like, Mirio will become the number one, and Izuku might become the number two, because he still thinks One For All is the best power, but you know, it is what it is. Which Mirio will be the number one, even if Deku is stronger than him, because Mirio would have more votes because Mirio is more like All Might. But anyway, All Might's like, what is that? And Izuku's like, that's my strongest blast. I called Eraser Cannon. And Izuku and All Might's like, why do you call it that? And Izuku's like, don't you see? It erases everything in its path. And All Might's like, fair point. He's like, fair point. And Izuku's like, anyway, I wouldn't want to use Eraser Cannon on anybody anyway. He's like, that was the strongest Eraser Cannon I've used since I got this power. And All Might's like, really? Damn. And Izuku's like, anyway, the threat is gone, so I'm just gonna be returning. And this is where I'm gonna leave it off, my peoples. See you later.